I stood there in the hotel lobby watching my own children walk away laughing toward the elevator without a single glance back. Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, had said something about finally being free of the burden. And they had all laughed. They didn't know I had heard every word. They didn't know I had paid for every cent of that reservation with the money I saved for 8 months. Selling my pies on Sundays in the town square and stashing coin after coin in a cookie tin I hid behind the canned beans. They also didn't know what I was about to do. But let's go back to the beginning. Because it all started 3 weeks earlier on a Tuesday afternoon. When the sun was warm through my kitchen window. I was preparing my afternoon coffee. Just like every day since I became a widow 4 years ago. When my phone rang, it was my eldest son, Andrew, with that sweet voice he used whenever he needed something. "Mom, I have a wonderful idea," he said, and I felt that familiar flutter in my chest that always came when my children included me in their plans. "What do you think about us taking a family trip for the holidays all together? Like in the good old days?" His voice sounded so excited that I could almost see his smile through the phone. I found a beautiful hotel on the coast, pools, restaurants, activities for the kids. It would be perfect, Mom. I set the coffee pot on the counter, feeling my eyes fill with tears of joy. It had been so long since I felt included, since I'd been invited to anything more than a family dinner. Where I sat quietly while they talked about their jobs, their trips, their plans. I was always the one who served, who cleared the dishes, who stayed in the kitchen while everyone else went into the living room. "That sounds wonderful, son," I replied, trying to keep my voice from cracking. "When would it be?" "The first week of January. 7 days, Mom. Imagine all of us, me, Vanessa, Peter, and Sabrina, the grandkids, and you, of course. Like one big happy family." He paused and then added, "There's just one small detail. Mom, the hotel requires a single person to make the reservation. Could you take care of it? We'll transfer you the money afterward." Of course. It was always like this. I was the one who put my name on the line, who made the guarantee, who handled the paperwork while they had all the fun. But this time, I didn't mind. It was a chance to do something special for my family, to show them how much I loved them. "Of course, son, you can count on me." That same afternoon, I called the hotel. Golden Palms Hotel. "How can I help you?" the receptionist's kind, professional voice said. "I'd like to make a reservation for 12 people. I answered, feeling my heart race. I had never organized anything so big before. "Perfect, ma'am. For what dates?" "From January 2nd to the 9th. I heard the clicking of her keyboard. "All right. That would be 5 family suites. All inclusive, with access to all activities. The total would be $4,200. I stopped breathing. $4,200. My pension was $800 a month. I had saved $800 selling pies for 8 months. I didn't have enough. "Ma'am, are you there?" Yes. I'm sorry. Can I confirm the reservation and pay later?" "We need a 50% deposit to confirm. Ma'am, $2,100. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my rocking chair, calculating and recalculating. I had $50 in cash. Some savings I had set aside for emergencies. And my wedding ring, the ring my husband had given me 42 years ago. With a small diamond that sparkled when the light hit it. The next day, I went to the downtown jewelry store. Mr. Arthur Green, the owner, was an older man who had known my family for years. "Martha, how are you?" he greeted warmly. "I'm doing well, Mr. Green. I came to ask what you'd give me for this ring." He examined it with his loupe, turning it between his wrinkled fingers. "It's a nice piece, Martha. I can give you $800. I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. $800 for 42 years of marriage. But I thought about Andrew's smile. About the chance to have my whole family together and happy. "It's a deal." With the money from the ring and my savings, I called the hotel that same afternoon and paid the deposit. The reservation was confirmed in my name with my credit card as a guarantee. 5 family suites, 12 people, 7 days, all inclusive. Over the next few weeks, every time I spoke with Andrew or Peter, they asked me about the trip details, but never mentioned the money. We'll talk about that later. They would say. The important thing is that we're all together. I continued to sell pies on Sundays, doing sewing jobs for my neighbors, saving every dollar I could to cover the final payment. My house became colder because I turned down the heat. I ate less meat, and I walked instead of taking the bus. All for that perfect family trip. 3 days before the trip, Andrew called me excitedly. Mom, you don't know how much we're looking forward to these days. The kids are super excited. Vanessa already has everything packed. How are the hotel preparations? Everything's ready, son. Just the final payment left. Oh, yeah, of course. Well, we'll figure that out when we get there. The important thing is we have fun. The night before the trip, I finished paying for the reservation in full with my credit card, $2,100. My wedding ring, all my savings, plus the debt left on my card. But it was worth it. I was going to have 7 perfect days with my family. I had no idea what I was about to discover. The morning of the trip, I woke up before sunrise. I had packed my suitcase the night before, carefully folding each item, choosing my best dresses, the pearl necklace that was my mother's, and my comfortable walking shoes for the beach. I felt like a child before Christmas. It had been so long since I had something to look forward to with so much excitement. Andrew was supposed to pick me up at 7 a.m. We had planned to travel all together in 2 cars to the hotel, which was a 3-hour drive away. I put on my light blue dress, the one Peter always said made me look younger, and carefully applied some makeup. I wanted to look good for the family photos we would surely take. At 7:30, Andrew honked from the street. I grabbed my suitcase, locked the door, and walked to the car with a smile I couldn't wipe off my face. In the passenger seat, Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, was looking at her phone. In the back, my 2 youngest grandkids were playing on a tablet. Good morning, family, I said as I got into the car. But only the kids replied with a faint, hi, Grandma. Distracted, Vanessa barely looked up for a second and mumbled something that sounded like a greeting. Andrew started the engine. Are you ready for a perfect family vacation? I asked, trying to start a cheerful conversation. Yes, Mom, Andrew replied, but his voice sounded tired. Vanessa, did you text Sabrina so they can follow us? They've already left, Vanessa answered without looking up from her phone. Peter drives like a turtle, so we'll probably get there before them. During the drive, I tried to talk several times. I asked them about Andrew's work, about their plans for the hotel, about whether the kids knew how to swim. The answers were short, half smiles that quickly faded. Vanessa kept texting, and every now and then she laughed at something she read on her screen. Is it very funny? I asked once, trying to be part of whatever was keeping her so entertained. It's my friend's group chat, she answered without looking at me. Things you wouldn't understand. I was quiet after that, staring out the window at the passing fields, the small houses, the trees that were just beginning to change color. I thought about all the pies I had sold to pay for this trip. About the nights I had stayed up sewing to earn a few extra dollars. About my wedding ring, which was now in a jewelry store safe. When we arrived at the hotel, my breath caught in my throat. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined from the photos online. Tall palm trees swayed in the ocean breeze. The gardens were perfectly manicured, with flowers of every color. The white facade of the building gleamed under the midday sun. The entrance had water fountains that made a relaxing sound, and I could hear the ocean in the distance. What a beautiful place, I exclaimed, feeling my chest swell with happiness. I can't believe we're here. The kids jumped out of the car, excited, and ran toward the entrance. Andrew and Vanessa began to take the suitcases out of the trunk. At that moment, the second car arrived with Peter, Sabrina, and the rest of the family. My 17-year-old granddaughter, Lena, was the only one who came to hug me. Grandma, this place is incredible, she said, her eyes shining with excitement. Did you see the pool? It's huge, and they say they have nightly activities and themed restaurants. I know, honey, it's going to be a wonderful week, I replied, stroking her hair. At least someone shared my enthusiasm. We all went into the lobby, and I headed to the reception desk. It was a spacious and elegant area with marble floors that reflected the light from the crystal lamps. white leather sofas, and tropical plants in huge pots. The air smelled of fresh flowers and ocean breeze. "Good morning," I said to the receptionist. A young woman with a kind smile. "I have a reservation under the name Martha Ellis." She typed on her computer and smiled. "Of course, Mrs. Ellis. We were expecting you. 5 family suites. 7 nights. All inclusive for 12 people. Everything is in order." While she was preparing the keys and explaining the hotel services, I heard my sons talking quietly behind me. 5 suites? I heard Peter whisper to Andrew. "I thought you said it would be simpler." "Mom organized everything," Andrew replied. "We'll figure out how to split the costs later." The receptionist handed me the keys on elegant keychains shaped like palm trees. The suites are on the 3rd floor, all with ocean views. Breakfast is served from 6 o'clock to 10 a.m. in the main restaurant. Lunch from 12 o'clock to 3 p.m. and dinner from 6 o'clock to 10 p.m. You also have full access to the spa, the pools, sports activities, and nightly entertainment. "How wonderful," I exclaimed, feeling my heart beat with excitement. "Did you hear that, kids? We have access to everything." But when I turned around to share my joy with the family, I froze. There was no one there. Andrew, Peter, Vanessa, Sabrina, and all the grandkids had disappeared. Only Lena was left, looking at me with a strange expression on her face. "Where did everyone go?" I asked, feeling my stomach drop. "They went to the elevators," she replied, biting her lower lip. "Dad said they were going to get settled in the rooms and that we would meet up later." "Without waiting for me? Without the keys?" Lena didn't answer, but I could see in her eyes that she wasn't telling me something. We walked to the elevator area, but there was no sign of the family. We went up to the 3rd floor and walked down the hallway, looking for them, but it was as if they had vanished. "Lena, what's going on here?" I asked, my voice trembling. She sighed and took out her phone. "Grandma, there's something you need to know. They're in the family group chat." "What group chat?" "The one Dad, Uncle Andrew, Mom, and Aunt Vanessa made. It's called Drama-Free Vacation." Her voice became softer. "Grandma, they didn't want you to come on the trip." I felt as if the marble floor was shifting under my feet. "What do you mean they didn't want me to come?" "But Andrew invited me. He asked me to organize everything." Lena showed me her phone with trembling hands. On the screen, I could see the group chat. The most recent messages said things that broke my heart into pieces. "We've arrived. The old lady took care of everything as usual. Perfect. Now we can enjoy ourselves without her watching us all the time." Did you see how excited she was at reception? How embarrassing. Well, at least she's useful for something. Let her stay in her room watching TV while we take advantage of everything. The words blurred in front of my eyes. I felt tears welling up, my throat closing. $2,100. My wedding ring, 8 months of work, all so they could enjoy themselves drama-free without me. "Grandma," Lena's voice sounded far away. "Are you okay?" No, I wasn't okay, but I wasn't defeated either. I stood there in the hotel hallway with the 5 keys hanging from my trembling fingers while Lena looked at me with tear-filled eyes. The messages from the group chat kept coming on her phone, each one like a dagger to my heart. I hope she doesn't get all pushy about family dinners. "Don't worry, Vanessa. If she gets too annoying, we'll just tell her she looks tired and that she should go rest. The important thing is that the kids have fun. She can do her own thing." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The hallway smelled of cleanliness and fresh flowers, but all I could taste was the bitter flavor of humiliation in my mouth. For 40 years, I had raised those children. I had sacrificed my dreams for theirs. I had sold my wedding ring to give them this perfect vacation. And this was how they repaid me. "Lena," I said with a voice I didn't recognize, "how long has that group chat existed?" She looked at her phone, scrolling up to see older messages. Since Uncle Andrew suggested the trip." "Grandma, look here. It says he created it the same day he called you." My granddaughter showed me the screen. There it was, clear as day. Group created on December 12th by Andrew Ellis. The same day my son had called me with his sweet voice to invite me on the family trip of my dreams. I continued to read the older messages. each one worse than the last. I already talked to Mom. She fell for the whole story. She's sure she'll be able to organize it. You know how she is with technology. It doesn't matter. If she messes up, we'll fix it. The important thing is she pays. Great. A free vacation with no family drama. Just so we're clear, no all-together activities. Everyone for themselves. The words became blurry from the tears I could no longer hold back. But there was something else. More recent messages that made me understand the magnitude of their betrayal. Did you confirm that the hotel allows changes to the reservation? Yeah, Peter asked at reception. Since it's under Mom's name, she can make changes. Perfect. Tomorrow we'll convince her to transfer the rooms to our names just in case. And on the last day, we'll tell her there was a billing error and that the hotel needs someone else to take care of the payment. There it was. Not only had they planned to ignore me during the trip, but they also intended to leave me with the entire debt at the end. They had used me to organize and pay for their perfect vacation. And then they planned to abandon me with the bill. Grandma, Lena gently touched my arm. What are you going to do? That question echoed in my mind. What was I going to do? The old Martha would have cried in silence, swallowed the humiliation, and pretended she hadn't seen anything. She would have spent the 7 days locked in her room, ordering room service so as not to bother the family in the restaurants, watching TV while they enjoyed the pool, the spa, and the nightly activities that I had paid for. But something had changed inside me. Maybe it was seeing my wedding ring disappear into the jeweler's hands. Or maybe it was those 8 months of waking up before sunrise to make pies and sell them in the town square. Maybe it was the realization that my own children saw me as a walking wallet, useful for paying and organizing, but a nuisance to include. I don't know yet, honey, I replied to Lena, wiping my tears with the back of my hand. But I'm not going to stand here and cry. We walked to my suite. It was beautiful, with a king-size bed covered in pristine white sheets, a balcony with a direct ocean view, and a marble bathroom with a deep tub. Everything I had dreamed of for months while saving every cent. But now it felt empty, like a stage set for a play where I was just the financier, not the star. I sat on the bed and Lena stood by the window looking out at the beach where I could already see some family members. Andrew and Peter were in the pool with their kids. Vanessa and Sabrina were having cocktails under an umbrella. They were all laughing and enjoying themselves as if nothing had happened. You know what hurts the most? I said to Lena. It's not the money or even the fact that they lied to me. It's that I thought we were finally going to be a real family. That we were going to make beautiful memories together. Lena turned around and I saw that her eyes were red. Grandma, I tried to tell them it was wrong. When Dad added me to the group, I told them it wasn't fair to you. But they said I didn't understand, that sometimes adults have to make difficult decisions. Difficult decisions, I repeated bitterly. That's what I was to them. A difficult decision. At that moment, my phone rang. It was a message from Andrew. Mom, we've settled in. We're going to have lunch at the beach restaurant. If you want, you can order room service. See you at dinner. Liars. I knew perfectly well they had planned to have lunch without me. But this time, instead of feeling hurt, I smiled. Tell your dad thank you very much. But I have other plans. And I wasn't lying. I did have other plans. Plans that were taking shape in my mind with a clarity that surprised even me. That afternoon, while my family enjoyed the beach with the money I had paid, I was busy making some very important calls. First stop, my bank. Second stop, the hotel reception. Third stop, my lawyer. Because if my children thought they were going to play games with me, they were very wrong. The game had just begun. And this time I had all the cards. That afternoon, while my family had fun on the beach, believing they had found the perfect formula for a free vacation, I was in my room executing my own plan. I had learned over 65 years that patience is the most powerful weapon a woman can have, especially when she is underestimated. My first call was to the bank. After navigating a maze of automated options and waiting for 20 minutes, I finally managed to speak with a human representative. National Bank. This is Clara Patel speaking. How can I help you? Good morning, Clara. My name is Martha Ellis. I need to report a possible fraud attempt on my credit card. Of course, Mrs. Ellis. Can you provide me with your card number and date of birth to verify your identity? After confirming my information, I explained the situation, choosing every word carefully. Clara, I have reason to believe that a family member is going to try to dispute legitimate charges that I made on my card, specifically a hotel reservation for $4,200 that I personally authorized and paid for. I understand your concern, Mrs. Ellis. Do you have any evidence of this potential fraudulent dispute? Yes, I have all the reservation documents, payment confirmations, and witnesses who can corroborate that I authorized all the expenses. Furthermore, my granddaughter heard my son on the phone today talking about disputing these charges. Clara made a note of everything and explained the procedure. I'm going to place a protection note on your account, Mrs. Ellis. If anyone tries to dispute these charges, an automatic investigation will be triggered, which will require substantial evidence of actual fraud. And in the meantime, the charges will remain valid until proven otherwise. I'm also going to email you a form to document everything related to this potential family fraud attempt. After hanging up with the bank, I felt as though I had won the first battle of a war that had just begun, but I needed more ammunition. My second call was to the hotel reception. Good afternoon. Could I please speak with the manager? 5 minutes later, a man with a kind voice introduced himself. Mrs. Ellis, I'm Marcus Delgado, the hotel manager. The receptionist tells me you wanted to speak with me. Yes, Mr. Delgado, I have a delicate family situation, and I need to make sure certain information is officially registered. I explained that I had paid for the full reservation as a surprise for my family but had discovered they planned to dispute the charges fraudulently. I understand perfectly, Mrs. Ellis. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time we've seen these family situations. What would you like us to do? First, I need you to confirm in writing that I am the only holder of the reservation and that I paid for everything voluntarily. Second, if anyone in my family tries to make changes without my presence, I want you to contact me immediately. Of course, ma'am. I'll send an official letter confirming all the details of your reservation and payment. I'll also instruct all the reception staff about the situation. One more thing, Mr. Delgado. Would it be possible to schedule a meeting for tomorrow morning? I think I might need to make some changes to the reservation. Of course. Is 9 a.m. a good time for you? Perfect. My third call was the most important. I found the number for Arthur Green, the lawyer who had helped my husband with his will and had handled some minor family matters over the years. Green and Associates. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Is Mr. Green in? This is Martha Ellis. Mrs. Ellis. It's a pleasure to hear from you. Mr. Green is with a client, but I can interrupt him if it's urgent. It's urgent. 3 minutes later, the familiar voice of Arthur Green filled the phone. Martha, how are you? Is everything okay? No, Mr. Green, nothing is okay. I need urgent legal advice. I told him the whole story. The trip, the group chat messages, the plan to dispute the charges, everything. Arthur listened without interrupting, making occasional sounds of disapproval. Martha, this is very serious. What your children are planning constitutes financial fraud and elder abuse. Elder abuse? Yes. Using deceit to obtain financial benefits from a senior citizen is a federal offense. Furthermore, disputing legitimate charges is bank fraud. What can I do? A few things. First, it's good that you've already contacted the bank. Second, I'm going to email you a document that I want you to sign and have notarized. It's a sworn statement that you voluntarily paid for all the trip expenses. Is there a notary at the hotel? Most large hotels have notary services for guests. Ask the manager. What else can I do? Martha, I have to ask you something important. Do you want to take legal action against your children? The question hit me like a punch to the stomach. Legal action against Andrew and Peter. The children I had raised, cared for when they were sick, sacrificed so much for. I don't know, Mr. Green. I just want them to stop. I understand, but you have options. You can sue them for fraud. You can change your will. You can take steps to protect your assets. Think about it. After hanging up, I sat in silence for several minutes. The sun was beginning to set, painting my room in golden colors. I could hear the happy voices of my family returning from the beach, laughing, talking about their plans for dinner. And for the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt in control. At 6:30, someone knocked on my door. It was Andrew. Hey, Mom. How was your afternoon? Very productive. Son. Productive? What did you do? Important calls. Paperwork. Adult stuff. I saw his smile become a little forced. Mom. Speaking of paperwork, Peter and I were thinking that maybe it would be easier if we handled some of the hotel details. You know, so you don't have to worry about anything. There it was, the first official move of their plan. What kind of details? Well, the keys to the other rooms. For example, just in case there's an emergency and we need access. What kind of emergency would require you to have access to rooms that aren't yours? Andrew seemed taken aback by the direct question. I don't know, Mom. We just thought it would be more practical. Andrew, I said in the calmest voice I could muster. I'm 65 years old. Not 95. I can handle the keys to the rooms just fine. Of course, Mom. I didn't mean you couldn't. I just thought that. What did you think exactly? I watched him get nervous, searching for the right words to manipulate the situation without sounding too obvious. Nothing, Mom. Forget it. Are you coming to dinner? Of course. It's my money paying for that dinner. Isn't it? The question caught him by surprise. Your money? Whose money else would it be? Andrew? No, of course you're right. We'll split everything at the end of the trip like we talked about. When did we talk about that exactly? Did we ever agree this would be a shared expense? Mom, I don't understand why you're asking these questions. I got up and walked to the door. Let's go to dinner. Son, I'm hungry. As we walked to the elevator, I could feel his confusion. His plan required me to be predictable, manageable, to act as I always had. But I was no longer the same woman who had arrived at the hotel 2 days ago. During dinner, I watched my family with new eyes. I saw how each of them enjoyed the food I had paid for. The expensive drinks they ordered without a second thought. The multiple desserts they got on a whim. I saw how they talked about their plans for the next day as if I weren't there. As if my presence were optional. But I also saw something else. I saw Lena watching me with worried eyes, understanding that something had changed in me. I saw my younger grandkids genuinely enjoying the trip, knowing nothing about the adults' betrayals. And I realized something important, not everyone at that table had betrayed me. That night, after everyone had gone to their rooms, Lena came to see me as we had agreed. Grandma, what is going on? Dad seemed really weird during dinner. He seemed weird because his plan isn't working out as he expected. I told her about my calls that day, about the measures I had taken to protect myself. About the meeting I had scheduled with the hotel manager in the morning. Are you going to cancel the trip? She asked. Her eyes wide. No, honey, I'm going to do something much better. What? I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve. At 5 a.m., I was already awake. Not because I had set an alarm, but because my body had developed the habit of waking up early during those months of selling pies. But this time, instead of feeling the familiar weight of exhaustion and obligation, I felt a strange sense of energy I hadn't felt in years. Today was the day everything would change. I took a shower calmly, put on my best outfit, the navy blue suit I had bought for my husband's funeral but had never had an opportunity to wear on an important occasion, and went down to the restaurant. It was 6:30, and the place was almost empty. Perfect. I needed quiet to review my notes one more time. As I sipped my coffee and looked over the documents Arthur Green had emailed me early in the morning, I saw Marcus Delgado, the hotel manager, come in. He was a man in his 40s. Elegant, with that warm professionalism that characterizes people who truly understand service. Mrs. Ellis, good morning. Did you sleep well? Very well, thank you. Could we move our meeting up? There are a few things I'd like to discuss before my family wakes up. Of course. Would you prefer to go to my office? Yes, that would be perfect. His office was elegant but cozy, with a view of the hotel garden. It had diplomas on the walls, photos of special events, and a coffee pot, which he immediately offered me a cup from. Mrs. Ellis, last night I reviewed your case with my legal team. We want to make sure we completely understand the situation. Your legal team? Yes. Cases like yours, while unfortunately not rare, require us to follow certain protocols to protect both the guest and the hotel. Marcus opened a folder on his desk. Allow me to confirm, you paid for the full reservation of $4,200 with your own credit card. Without coercion, as a surprise for your family. Is that correct? Completely correct. And you have evidence that some members of your family plan to dispute these charges fraudulently? Yes. My granddaughter heard my son coordinating with the bank. I understand. I have 2 documents here that I'd like you to review. The first document was an official statement from the hotel confirming all the details of my reservation and payment. The second was more interesting, an addendum to the contract that gave me exclusive authority over any aspect of the stay. What exactly does this mean? I asked, pointing to the second document. It means that you, as the person who paid and the holder of the reservation, have absolute control. You can decide who stays and who leaves. You can modify services, and you can even cancel specific rooms if you wish. I felt my heart quicken. I can cancel specific rooms? Absolutely. There are 5 suites reserved under your name. You can keep all 5. Or you can cancel 1, 2, 3, or even 4 of them if you wish. And the people in those rooms would have to find alternative accommodation or leave the hotel. The idea began to take shape in my mind with crystal clear clarity. Marcus, what's the checkout time? Normally at 12 noon, but we can be flexible depending on the circumstances. And if someone needs to leave before that time, is that also possible? Yes. Are you considering making changes to the reservation? I was silent for a moment, looking out the window at the gardens where the groundskeepers had already started working. It was early, but the day promised to be beautiful, sunny, perfect for the beach, the kind of day my family had planned to enjoy entirely at my expense. Marcus, I want to make some changes, but I need them to be executed exactly as I'm about to explain. Of course, I'm all ears. I want to cancel 4 of the 5 suites. Marcus raised his eyebrows slightly but maintained his professional expression. Which ones specifically? I took out my notebook where I had written down the room numbers. Suites 301, 302, 304, and 305. I want to keep only 303. Which is mine. Understood. And when do you want these cancellations to be effective? Today, but not immediately. First, I want you to block access to those rooms at 10 a.m. Their keycards will stop working. And then at 11 a.m., I want hotel staff to go to those suites to inform the guests that they must vacate the rooms before noon due to changes in the reservation. Marcus took notes as I spoke. Not judging and completely professional. Are there any specific instructions I should give to the staff? Yes. They should explain that the reservation holder, which is me, decided to modify the stay. That it is not the hotel's fault, but a personal decision of the person who paid for the reservation. And if they ask where they can find me to speak with me, you can tell them that I'm available in suite 303. But only if they come to speak civilly. If there are shouts, threats, or disrespect toward the hotel staff, you have instructions to contact security. Marcus finished writing and looked at me with a mix of admiration and curiosity. Mrs. Ellis, may I ask what led you to this decision? Marcus, do you have a family? Yes, a wife and 2 young children. Do you love them? Of course. Would you do anything for them? Without a doubt. And what if they betrayed you? What if you found out they were using you? That they were embarrassed by you? That they planned to scam you? Marcus was silent for a moment. I think I understand. For 40 years, I raised my children. I fed them, clothed them, and cared for them when they were sick. I worked to give them an education. I sacrificed my dreams for theirs. And now, when I thought we could finally enjoy some time together as a family, I discover that they see me as a useful nuisance for paying bills. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Ellis. Don't apologize, Marcus. This isn't sadness. This is liberation. I signed all the necessary documents, including the sworn statement that Mr. Green had prepared. Marcus called a notary from the hotel who arrived in 10 minutes to make everything official. One last thing, I said to Marcus when we finished. Could you please have a cab ready for 12:30? For how many people? Just for 2, my granddaughter Lena and me. Are you going to the airport? No, we're going to another hotel. One where we can truly enjoy a vacation. Marcus smiled for the first time during our meeting. It will be my pleasure to help you with that. 2. When I returned to my room, it was 8:30. My family was surely awake by then, probably planning another perfect day without me. But this time, things would be different. I sat on the balcony with a cup of fresh coffee that I had ordered from room service and waited. At 9 o'clock, I would receive the first message from Lena with the new conversations from the secret group chat. At 10 o'clock, their keycards would stop working. At 11 o'clock, the hotel staff would knock on their doors. And for the first time in my life, I would be in complete control. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Andrew. "Mom, we're going to breakfast. Are you coming?" I replied, "No thanks. I have other plans for today." "What plans?" "You'll see, son, you'll see." I looked at my watch. It was 9:55. In 5 minutes, the countdown would begin, the moment my family would discover they had seriously underestimated the woman who had given them life. At exactly 10 o'clock, my phone vibrated with the first message from Lena. It was a screenshot of the secret group chat sent just a few minutes earlier. "Perfect plan for today. Beach all morning, spa in the afternoon. The old lady will surely stay in her room like yesterday. Great. After lunch, we'll talk to reception to get control of the other rooms. Did you confirm with the bank?" "Peter?" "Yes. The dispute process should be ready this afternoon. By tomorrow, we won't have to worry about the expenses anymore." Each message was another confirmation that I had made the right decision. There was no doubt, no guilt, no room for regret. They had chosen this path. At 10:30, another message came from Lena. "Grandma, they're all at the pool. Dad just said that after lunch, he's going to reception to sort out the rooms. I also heard Aunt Vanessa say that today is the last day they have to pretend everything is fine." The last day they had to pretend, as if being with me was an unbearable performance that was finally coming to an end. I poured myself another cup of coffee and sat comfortably in the armchair by the balcony. From there, I could see the pool where my family was enjoying themselves. Andrew and Peter were in the water with some of the grandkids. Vanessa and Sabrina were having cocktails under an umbrella, all laughing, relaxed, happy, making the most of the vacation I had paid for while they planned to betray me. At 10:55, my phone rang. It was Marcus. "Mrs. Ellis, the system is ready. In 2 minutes, the key cards for suites 301, 302, 304, and 305 will be deactivated." "Perfect. Marcus, is your staff ready for what's to come?" "Completely. We have the security team on standby. And we've already briefed the housekeepers on how to handle the situation with diplomacy but firmness." "Excellent. I'll see you in 1 hour." I looked at my watch. 9:58, 9:59, 10 o'clock. At that very moment, my family's keycards had just become useless pieces of plastic. They wouldn't be able to get into their rooms, access their belongings, or take a shower after the pool. I waited. It didn't take long. At 10:07, I saw Sabrina get up from her chair by the pool and walk toward the elevators. She was probably going to get something from her room. At 10:11, my phone vibrated with an urgent message from Lena. "Grandma, Mom is yelling at reception. She says her keycard isn't working." 3 minutes later, another message. "Now they're all there. Dad is very upset. The receptionist is explaining something to them. But I can't hear well from here." At 10:20, Andrew called me. His voice was tense, controlled, but I could hear the panic underneath. "Mom, there's a problem with the rooms. The key cards aren't working. Could you come down to reception to help us fix it?" "What kind of problem?" "We don't know. The receptionist says there's a change in the reservation. But that's impossible because no one has changed anything." "How strange," I replied with the most innocent voice I could muster. "Are you sure you haven't changed anything?" "Of course not. Mom, could you come? We need to sort this out quickly because the kids want to go back to the rooms." "I'm a little busy right now, son, but don't worry, I'm sure it will be sorted out soon." "Busy with what?" "Important things." I hung up before he could respond. At 10:45, Lena sent me another message. "Grandma, the hotel manager is talking to Dad and Uncle Peter. They look very worried. Aunt Vanessa is arguing with a receptionist." At 10:58, my phone rang again. This time it was Peter. "Mom, we need you to come to reception now. There's a very serious misunderstanding. And only you can fix it." "What kind of misunderstanding?" "The hotel says you cancelled our rooms." "That's ridiculous, right? Tell them it's a mistake." "Why would it be ridiculous?" "Peter, what do you mean why?" "Because there's no reason for you to cancel our rooms." "There isn't?" There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Mom, what's going on? I'm sure Marcus explained it to you very well. Marcus, you know the manager? Of course. We had a very productive meeting this morning. Another silence. When Peter spoke again, his voice had changed completely. Mom, you cancelled our rooms. Yes. Why? Because I can. And I hung up. At exactly 11 o'clock. From my balcony, I saw the hotel staff walking toward the pool area. There were 3 of them, Marcus, a woman who seemed to be from guest services, and a security guard in plain clothes. I saw them approach my family. I saw how Marcus spoke with Andrew while pointing toward the hotel. I saw the expressions of shock, confusion, and then anger on my children's and daughters-in-law's faces. I saw how the grandkids, not understanding what was happening, went up to their parents looking for explanations. At 11:05, someone knocked on my door forcefully. It wasn't the polite knock of a social visit. It was hard, urgent, desperate knocking. I opened the door and there they were, all 4 of them, Andrew, Peter, Vanessa, and Sabrina. Their faces were a collage of emotions, fury, confusion, panic, disbelief. Behind them in the hallway, I could see some of my grandkids waiting with their beach bags in their hands. Can you tell me what the hell is going on? Vanessa yelled before I could say a word. Good morning to you too, I replied calmly, stepping aside so they could come in. Don't give me that attitude, Martha. Vanessa continued. The hotel says you cancelled our rooms. It's ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous? Because we're your family. That's what I thought. Andrew stepped forward, trying to use his most conciliatory voice. Mom, there's clearly a misunderstanding. Let's go down to reception and clear all of this up. There is no misunderstanding. Andrew, I cancelled your rooms because you are no longer welcome on my trip. Your trip? Sabrina looked genuinely confused. I thought it was a family trip. I thought so too, until I discovered that you don't consider me family. Peter frowned. What are you talking about? I took out my phone and showed them the screenshots of the secret group chat that Lena had sent me. I watched their faces fall as they read their own words, their own laughter, their own betrayal written in plain text. Andrew tried to find the words. This isn't what it looks like. It's not? Then explain to me what free vacation with no family drama means. Andrew. The silence that followed was deafening. The 4 of them looked at each other, searching for an explanation, an excuse, a way out of the hole they had dug for themselves. Mom, Peter finally spoke. I understand you're upset, but you can't leave us without rooms. We have small children, the same children you were going to keep away from me by hiring a nanny? That was, and what about the bank? Peter, have you already started the dispute of the charges? His face went completely pale. How do you know? I know everything. I know about the group chat. I know about your plans to take control of the reservation away from me. I know about the fraudulent dispute you were planning to make with the bank. I know everything. Vanessa slumped into the armchair, covering her face with her hands. Sabrina looked as if she was going to be sick. Andrew and Peter stood in the middle of the room like children caught stealing candy. So, I said in a voice that sounded strangely calm. Even to me, here are your options. You can take your things, which the hotel staff has already so kindly packed. You can call a taxi. And you can go find another hotel where you can pay for your own vacation. Or what? Andrew asked in a trembling voice. Oh, nothing. That's your only option. You can't do this, Vanessa yelled, getting up from the armchair. We're your family. You can't abandon us. I looked directly into the eyes of the woman who for years had tolerated my advice with fake smiles. Who had talked behind my back. Who had turned my son against me. Vanessa, I said with a calm that surprised even me. Who abandoned whom first? And in that moment, I saw in her eyes that she knew exactly what I was talking about. The war had ended before they even knew it had begun. The silence that followed my question was devastating. I could hear the air conditioner running, the distant voices of other guests in the hallway, the gentle sound of the waves reaching the beach. But in my room, the silence was so dense it seemed to have its own weight. Andrew was the first to try to recover. Mom, this is crazy. You can't be serious. Do I look like I'm joking? But the kids. What are the grandkids going to think? For the first time since this confrontation began, I felt a pang in my chest. My grandkids, the only innocents in this whole betrayal. The grandkids are going to think that their parents made very poor decisions. And now they have to face the consequences. You're destroying this family, Sabrina cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, Sabrina, this family destroyed itself when you decided that I was an obstacle instead of a valuable member. Peter came toward me with his hands out in a pleading gesture. Mom, please, I know we made mistakes. But we can fix it. We can talk now. You want to talk after months of planning this deception? It wasn't months, Andrew murmured. No? The group chat was created the same day you invited me on the trip. Andrew, the same day. I watched him collapse internally. There was no way to deny the evidence anymore. Okay, Vanessa said, standing up with an expression of fury she no longer tried to hide. You want to be the martyr? You want to have your dramatic moment? Fine, but don't expect us to come running back when you feel lonely again. Her words were designed to hurt me, to make me reconsider, to trigger that part of me that had always been afraid of being alone. Vanessa, I said, walking to the door and opening it. I would rather be alone than be accompanied by people who despise me. We don't despise you, Peter exclaimed. No? Then explain to me what getting rid of the burden, and the last day we have to pretend everything is fine, means. Peter opened his mouth to reply, but no sound came out. At that moment, Lena appeared in the doorway. She had been waiting in the hallway with the other grandkids, but she looked clearly distressed. What's going on? She asked in a small voice. The kids don't understand why we have to leave. My heart broke a little more. This girl, my granddaughter, who had shown me the messages, who had been my ally in this discovery, now she would have to leave. Too. Lena, I said softly, come here. She came closer, and I took her hands. Honey, your parents and I have very serious differences. They are going to have to leave the hotel. But why, Grandma? I looked at Peter, her father, wondering if he would finally have the courage to tell his own daughter the truth. Why? Peter said in a broken voice. Dad made some very big mistakes. Lena looked at her father. Then she looked at me, and in her eyes, I saw a comprehension that went beyond her 17 years. Does it have to do with the group chat? Everyone froze. Sabrina turned to her daughter with a panicked expression. What do you know about that? I know everything, Mom. I know what you've been saying about Grandma. I know you never wanted her to come on the trip. I know you only used her so she would pay for everything. The silence that followed was different now. It was no longer tense with denial. It was heavy with the shame of recognition. Lena, Sabrina tried to explain. Things aren't as simple as, yes. They are. Lena pulled her hands from mine and turned to her parents. So it's not true that you created a group chat without Grandma to make fun of her? It's not true that you planned to dispute the bank charges so you wouldn't have to pay for anything? It's not true that you hired a nanny so we wouldn't have to spend time with her? Each question was like a slap in the face. I watched my children and daughters-in-law physically shrink under the weight of the words from a teenager who had seen right through their lies. You hurt the only person who has always been there for us. Lena continued with tears in her eyes but a firm voice. Grandma sold her wedding ring to pay for this trip. Did you know that she sold Grandpa's ring? Andrew slumped into a chair as if his legs could no longer support him. You sold your ring? Peter looked sick. We didn't know, Andrew said, because you never asked. You assumed I had infinite money for your whims. Vanessa, who had been quiet during Lena's speech, finally spoke. Fine, we'll leave, but this isn't over. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You can't treat your family like this and expect there to be no consequences. Vanessa, I said, walking toward her until we were face to face. I didn't treat my family badly. My family treated me badly. What's happening now are the consequences of your actions, not mine. Andrew got up from the chair. Mom, please, can we fix this? Can I what? Andrew, erase the messages you wrote? Cancel the fraudulent dispute you started? Give back the respect you took from me? We can apologize. Are you apologizing because you got caught? Or are you actually sorry? Andrew couldn't answer. Exactly. At that moment, there was a gentle knock at the open door. Marcus Delgado stepped in politely. Excuse the interruption, Mrs. Ellis. The taxi is ready for the family. He looked toward my children. Your belongings are in the lobby. The hotel can help you find alternative accommodation if you need it. Thank you, Marcus. Taxi? Sabrina asked, her eyes wide. Are you leaving too? Yes, I said. Lena and I are going to another hotel where we can truly enjoy the vacation I deserve. Lena is going with you? Peter looked genuinely surprised. I looked at my granddaughter, who nodded firmly. Lena is the only person in this family who treated me with respect and honesty. She's the only one who deserves to share this vacation with me. You can't take our daughter, Sabrina yelled. I'm not taking her. She's choosing to come with me. Lena? Peter spoke directly to his daughter. You can't do this. We're your family. Dad, Lena said softly but firmly. Grandma is also our family. And you betrayed her. I can't be a part of that. It's only for a few days. I added. After that, she can decide if she wants to go back with you or not. This is kidnapping, Vanessa muttered under her breath. No, I said firmly. This is justice. Andrew came up to me one last time. Mom, if we leave like this, things will never be the same between us. Andrew, I placed my hand on his shoulder. And for a moment, I saw the little boy he had been before he became the man who had chosen to betray me. Things were already never the same. You made sure of that. I picked up my suitcase, which I had packed that morning after my meeting with Marcus. Lena already had hers ready. Where are you going? Peter asked in a defeated voice. To a place where I can be a grandmother without having to apologize for existing. We walked toward the door. In the hallway, the other grandkids were waiting. Confused and sad, not fully understanding what was happening but knowing that something important had broken. I knelt in front of them. I love you all very much, I said gently, and this isn't your fault. Someday, when you're older, you'll understand why Grandma had to do this. Little Jack, my 8-year-old grandson, hugged me tightly. We're not going to build sand castles anymore? Someday we'll build the most beautiful sand castles in the world. I promised him. When your parents remember how to treat the people they love. Lena and I walked to the elevator. As the doors closed, I could see my family standing in the hallway, my sons defeated. My daughters-in-law furious. My grandkids confused. In that single image, my entire life as a mother flashed before my eyes, every sacrifice. Every sleepless night, every tear I had swallowed quietly so they could have more than I ever did. The elevator descended slowly, the soft music playing almost mockingly as I felt decades of emotional weight start to lift from my shoulders. In the lobby, Marcus was waiting with our taxi. Mrs. Ellis, he said as the driver loaded our suitcases. It has been an honor to meet you. What you did today took a lot of courage. It wasn't courage, Marcus, I said quietly. It was survival. As the taxi pulled away from the hotel, I looked out the back window. I could see my family at the entrance with their suitcases, probably calling other hotels, looking for a place to stay. Do you regret it, Grandma? Lena asked softly beside me. I thought about her question as we watched the coastline roll by. I thought about 40 years of motherhood, of sacrifices that were never acknowledged, of the love I had given without expecting anything in return. But that in the end, had expected at least basic respect. No, I finally replied. I regret that it took me so long to value myself. The taxi moved along the scenic highway, the sun shimmering on the waves. Lena reached for my hand, and I held hers tightly. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small or taken for granted. I felt strong. I felt free. When we arrived at the boutique hotel I had reserved that morning, Marcus had already called ahead to make sure everything was ready. The place was small but beautiful, a whitewashed building with blue shutters. Just a short walk from a quiet stretch of beach. The receptionist greeted us warmly, handing us the key to our suite with a balcony overlooking the sea. Welcome, Mrs. Ellis. We hope you and your granddaughter enjoy your stay. As we stepped into our room, sunlight poured through the open windows, and I felt something I hadn't in a long time, peace. There was no tension, no judgment, no pretense. Just the sound of the ocean and the laughter of a girl who had chosen kindness over convenience. Lena opened the balcony doors and ran outside, her hair blowing in the wind. Grandma, it's so beautiful. I joined her, resting my hands on the railing, letting the salty air fill my lungs. It is, I said. You know, I think this is the first real vacation I've ever had. She smiled and leaned her head on my shoulder. You deserve it. We both do, I said, wrapping an arm around her. You stood up for what was right, even when it meant standing against your own parents. That takes courage. I learned it from you, she whispered. We spent the rest of the afternoon walking along the beach, collecting shells and talking about everything and nothing. For the first time, I wasn't the one listening just to please someone else. I was heard. Really heard. That night, we had dinner at a small seaside restaurant. The waiter brought grilled fish and lemonade. And as we ate, Lena told me she wanted to study law someday. Maybe I'll help people like you, Grandma, people who get taken advantage of but don't know how to fight back. I smiled, tears forming in my eyes. That would make me very proud. Later, as we walked back to the hotel under the moonlight, I felt an overwhelming sense of calm. It wasn't happiness. Exactly, it was something deeper. The quiet assurance that I had finally reclaimed my dignity. When we reached the room, Lena went to take a shower while I stepped onto the balcony again. The sea shimmered under the moon, endless and forgiving. I thought of my late husband, of the ring that had once symbolized our life together. Now gone, and yet, I felt closer to him than ever. He would have wanted me to stand up for myself. He would have wanted me to stop letting people take advantage of my heart. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of waves and laughter. Lena was already awake, sitting on the balcony with her notebook. Writing? I asked. Yeah, I want to remember everything about this trip. I smiled. Then write this down, sweetheart. Never let anyone make you feel like your kindness is a weakness. It's your strength, but always make sure it's deserved. She nodded and kept writing, her pen gliding across the pages. I poured myself a cup of coffee and watched the sun rise over the horizon. It was golden and soft, the kind of sunrise that promised new beginnings. And for the first time in years, I believed it. If you liked this story, please subscribe to Revenge in Silence for more true stories of strength, justice, and redemption. And tell me, where are you listening from? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next story, with love and respect.